Hey, I'm Rob Clipple. This is James Askins. We're going to mount a scope properly on a 300 PRC rifle today. James, what have you done so far?
So far I've put on a 20 MOA rail. We want to take and install the torque screws that come in the pack, which we use a worn rail, and you want to torque them down to specifications, which they usually put that on the inside of these instructions, which is 25 inch-pounds. Also, you want to secure this tight properly by using Loctite on threads, because you don't want these screws to back it out. You want a good, firm, tight base before you install your rings in your scope. And we want to also make sure that everything is level. And what I'm doing here is I'm using a leveling kit, which is designed by Wheeler. And what we've done is we've installed this one level on the back of the action here. We want the action level inside the bubble, and then we want to attach this adjustable one to the barrel, and we want to get that bubble inside perfectly inside lines, just as well as this. What that is this bubble on the barrel is going to keep us level while we're installing the rings. Now what we're going to do is we're going to remove this, and then we're going to get the rings and the scope, and we're going to install it on the base back here.
It's holding that bubble a lot better than mine does. Out and put it where your head's comfortable and the scope is completely clear. No dark spots anywhere around it.
That's good right there. Now that we got the scope and scope rings attached, we did not tighten the screws to this. What we need to do now is we got the eye relief set, and now we're going to stick this bubble back on top of the turret, and we want the bubble to be inside the center, just like we have on the front barrel bubble levels. So we've got to torque these rings to spec on these scopes. We've got the bubbles level, we got them matching. The problem is when we use a torque wrench, which we want to torque it to 25 inch-pounds, which is their recommended manufacturer specs. The problem is when you tighten these screws, a lot of times it will twist the scope. So we keep our level on top of here while we're tightening this, just to make sure that we keep them inside the bubbles and they match. You can also notice I am not tightening these one screw at a time. Start snugging them down until you get them all fairly snug, and then start going back through and tighten them to the right torque. And that's to keep from twisting the scope all at once. It's very important not to over tighten these rings, especially when they are aluminum and aluminum alloys. If you over tighten them, it can possibility strip the threads out, and there's also a possibility over tighten them with steel. You can also crush the tube. And that click, audible click that you hear on the torque wrench, that means we've reached 25 inch-pounds. A lot of times I'll go over and make sure. You also notice we did not put Loctite on these rings. We only did it for the base. So we installed our scope rings and bases. Make sure everything is level, installed, torque down the specifications, rail with Loctite. Do not put Loctite on your scope rings. You want to set your eye relief, install the bubble level, make sure it's lined up level with your bubble level on your rifle, and then tighten them down to the specifications. That if you follow these recommendations, you'll have a better experience in the woods and on the range.